Right together with me behind your muted mics. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Byevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namah Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Asyacha Dishatarine. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So today we will discuss and read text number 35. Ya swapnam vayam shokam vishadham madamevacha. Now vimunchati durmedha driti sa partha tamasi. Synonyms. Yaya, by which. Swapnam, dreaming. Bhayam, fearfulness. Shokam, lamentation. Vishadam, moroseness. Madham, illusion. Eva, certainly. Cha, also. Na, never. Vimunchati, chati, one gives up. Dhurmedha, unintelligent. Driti, determination. Sa, death. Partha, O son of Pritha. Tamasi, in the mode of ignorance. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. And that determination, which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such unintelligent determination, O son of Pritha, is in the mode of darkness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It should not be concluded that a person in the mode of goodness does not dream. Here, dream means too much sleep. Dreaming is always present, either in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. Dreaming is a natural occurrence. But those who cannot avoid oversleeping, who cannot avoid the pride of enjoying material objects, who are always dreaming of lording it over the material world, and whose life, mind, and senses are thus engaged, are considered to have determination in the mode of ignorance. So we've been discussing driti, determination, in the three modes. In text 33, determination, driti in goodness, has been discussed. In yesterday's verse, driti in passion has been discussed. And today, driti in ignorance will be spoken about. Now, I think today's verse and discussion is going to be more for me and not so much for you, because most of you have demonstrated driti in the mode of goodness. Simply by your steadfast determination, by regularly, without fail, always coming to the chat classes to hear the transcendental message of the Bhagavad Gita. You all have demonstrated driti in the mode of goodness. So I'll speak mostly for myself today. Driti in the mode of ignorance. And maybe you can pay attention, because sometimes, we all have the tendency to come under the different modes. So Krishna is described in text 33, determination in the mode of goodness. And the nature of such determination, that it's unbreakable. It is sustained by yoga practice. And it controls the activities of the mind, life, and senses. Yesterday, we've discussed driti, or determination in the mode of passion. And there are certain particular characteristics about that. Firstly, it's driven by the desire for fruitive results in religion, economic development, and sense gratification. And it's done in the association of similar person, prasangena. Today, Krishna is describing determination in the mode of ignorance. And the Lord gives some very nice, clear characteristics of this determination in ignorance, which we shall discuss more. And the qualities are swapnam, dreaming, bhayam, fearfulness, shokam, lamentation, vishadham, moroseness, and illusion, madham. It's interesting, this Sanskrit word for illusion is madham, and this English word, mad, probably comes from this word. Prabhupada said, everyone in this material world is in a mad state. A mad person is someone who has a distorted conception of reality. That's when we consider ourselves mad. So all of us who have a distorted conception that we are the body, and we'll act as if we are this body, we are in a state of illusion, mad. So these are some of the qualities that Krishna has discussed, and we shall go through them individually so we can be more acutely aware of them. But before I do that, I want to just speak about the quality of determination. We know that we are tiny parts and parcels of Krishna. Just like if you take a drop of water from the ocean, that drop of water, it will have the same qualities of the ocean. It will be salty and so on. So we also have the qualities of Krishna, because we're a tiny spark from Krishna. And in the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami very elaborately describes the 64 qualities of Krishna. There are 4 qualities that only Krishna has, nobody else. But the other qualities are there. And the living entities, we have about 78% of those qualities in tiny proportion. So Srila Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion, he describes quality number 18 of the Lord as the Lord being firmly determined. So we being tiny parts of Krishna in our original pure consciousness, we also have this quality of being firmly determined. But when we come in the material world, based on how much of the modes we become covered under. We display this quality of determination to different degrees. So just let's read some very interesting description of Krishna's quality of determination from the Nectar of Devotion. Srila Rupa Goswami writes, any person who observes regulative principles and fulfills his promises by practical activity is called determined. So here Srila Rupa Goswami gives a very interesting definition of what it means to be determined. And he says, any person who observes regulative principles and fulfills his promises by practical activity is called determined. As far as the Lord's determination is concerned, there is an example in his dealings in the Harivamsa. This is in connection with Lord Krishna's fighting with the king of heaven, Indra, who was forcibly deprived of the Parijata flower. Parijata is a kind of lotus flower grown on the heavenly planets. Once Satyabhama, one of Krishna's queens, wanted that lotus flower, and Krishna promised to deliver it. But Indra refused to part with the Parijata flower. Therefore, there was a great fight, with Krishna and the Pandavas on one side and all of the demigods on the other. Ultimately, Krishna defeated all of them and took the Parijata flower, which he presented to his queen. This whole incident can be read in the Krishna book. So in regard to that occurrence, Krishna told Narada Muni, my dear great sage of the demigods, now you can declare to the devotees in general and to the non-devotees in particular that in the matter of taking the Parijata flower, all the demigods, the Gandharvas, the Nagas, and the demon Rakshas, the Yakshas, and the Panagas tried to defeat me, but no one could make me break my promise to my queen. So Krishna is himself telling Narada Muni, see, just from this incident, this is what determination means. I kept my promise. There is another promise by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita to the effect that his devotee will never be vanquished. So a sincere devotee who is always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord should know for certain that Krishna will never break his promise. He will always protect his devotees in every circumstance. This is another wonderful example. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, declare it boldly, O Arjuna, that my devotee will never perish. So Krishna has made this promise. And one thing we know, one quality of Krishna we know, is firmly determined. He can break his own promise for himself. But when he promises something for his devotee, he will never break it. Krishna showed how he fulfills his promise by delivering the Parijata flower to Satyabhama, by saving Draupadi from being insulted, and by freeing Arjuna from the attacks of all enemies. The promise of Krishna that his devotees are never vanquished, and also previously been admitted by Indra when he was defeated in the Govardhan Leela. When Krishna stopped the villages of Raja, Vrindavan, from worshipping Indra, Indra became angry and therefore inundated Vrindavan with continuous rain. Krishna, however, protected all of the citizens and animals of Vrindavan by lifting Govardhan hill, which served as an umbrella. After the incident was over, Indra surrendered to Krishna with many prayers, in which he admitted, by your lifting Govardhan hill and protecting the citizens of Vrindavan, you have kept your promise that your devotees are never to be vanquished. So this is very interesting. In our Vaishnava culture, this determination, in particular, it is demonstrated in the context of keeping our promises. And even in the quality of Krishna, that determination is shown by keeping his promise and the vows. Now, for a devotee, what is the most important vow or promise which he or she makes? Would anyone like to say?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Nitimata.
I was thinking, vows you give it to your spiritual master, and also to Srila Prabhupada. Those are the very important.
The promise to the Guru, you say?
Yeah, and to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah.
Wonderful. Anyone else likes to say, what do they consider to be the most important vow or promise of their life?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Prani Mataji.
Always remember Krishna and never forget him.
Always remember and never forget Krishna. That's nice. You've made that promise, Mataji?
I'm trying, Prabhu.
That's nice.
Hare Krishna.
Anyone else?
Chant 16 rounds and follow the regulative principles.
Follow 16 rounds.
Chant 16 rounds.
Chant 16 rounds and follow the regulative principles. Yes. Srila Prabhupada says that is the most important vow. That is the most important vow that we make. That we shall actually make it, but the essential vow we make is to dedicate our life to the order and the instruction of the spiritual master. There is that particular instruction and order we get when we get our beads. We promise we will chant 16 rounds without fail. Every day, minimum 16 rounds, minimum. And to follow the 4 regulative principles. But we will read and discuss today how, under the modes of nature, that promise becomes weak. Also, some of us have not made that promise yet. The promise to the Guru. That is, Srila Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion, he lists or sets out 64 items of sadhana bhakti. And he says the first 3 are prerequisites before we follow the other. One is to surrender to spiritual master, to take initiation from him, and to surrender to him. This is the primary vow. In the Vaishnava's life, we have primary vows and promises and secondary. The primary vow is the vow to the Guru. And the secondary vows, like the vow of marriage, and so many other vows that we may take, those are considered secondary. Why? Because the primary goal of life is to serve Krishna. The primary business of life is to come out of this material entanglement. Therefore, that is considered to be the primary vow, the primary promise in a Vaishnava's life. But unfortunately, sometimes, we fall under the different modes of material nature. We are in the material world. We become pro. And therefore, that vow, that promise, it comes under attack, under onslaught. And these are the different qualities that Krishna explains. The first is dreaming. And Prabhupada gives some focus and some attention in the purport to dreaming. He says, but don't consider that dreaming is only in the mode of ignorance. Everybody dreams. but the dreams are of a different nature. The Vaishnavas also dream. Pure Vaishnavas also dream. In their dreams, they dream of serving Krishna. In their dreams, they dream they're chanting the holy name of Krishna. In their dreams, they dream they are serving the spiritual master. In their dreams, they are dreaming they're having the association with the spiritual master. But one in the mode of ignorance, their dreams is all about their material aspirations and the failures and the tribulations of material aspirations. And also, when one is in the mode of ignorance, one dreams, but one never comes to the point of actual execution. I'll dream one day I'll be taking initiation. I'll dream one day I'm going to go out and book distribution. I'll dream that I'll be serving Krishna and the Vaishnavas in a certain way. But it only remains in the dreaming state. It never materializes because the determination to do it is not strong. It's still under the influence of the mode of ignorance. One has to bring that determination to the mode of goodness, so it does not only stay in the platform of swapnam, dreaming. It is actually executed, it actually materializes. The second one, quality of determination in the mode of ignorance, is bhayam, fearfulness, where we decide we want to do something. Yes, Srila Prabhupada said we must go and distribute books. We need to go out and help the suffering souls. We need to go and serve the spiritual master. But we are afraid. In the Krishna book, there's a nice example of the Brahmanas. We see the Brahmanas, Krishna and the cowherd boys went and asked them for some food. They refused. Then Krishna and Balaram went and asked the wives of the Brahmanas for some food. They happily and willingly served Krishna and Balaram. And then these Brahmanas, they saw the activities and the action of their wives, and they felt ashamed. And then they said, to hell with our Vedic mantras, to hell with our rituals, to hell with this and that, they were saying. Let us serve Krishna. When Prabhupada writes in the end, they could never do it. Why they could never do it? Because they were afraid of Kamsa. They were afraid that they would be persecuted by Kamsa if they served Krishna and the cowherd boys. So their determination could not go beyond fearfulness. In the same way, we may feel the fear to go out and approach somebody to give them transcendental knowledge, to give them a Shastra Dan. But our fear will inhibit our determination. Oh, I'm scared, I can't do. What will they think of me? Maybe they'll shout at me. No, that's not determination in the mode of ignorance, because it's held back by fearfulness. In the pastimes of Lord Ram, we see after Jatayu was killed, Ram and Lakshman, they did the Shrad, the cremation ceremony, and then they entered into the forest. And the forest was thick and dense and dark, and they were chopping and they were going through. And eventually they came to a clearing, and there they met a colossal Rakshasa who had no neck and no mouth. And he said his mouth was in his stomach, and he was huge, and he had a fearful eye, and his tongue was darting in and out, and he was extremely fearful. And as Ram and Lakshman were looking at the Rakshasa, he was just devouring bears, tigers, and deers, which he crammed into his gaping mouth. And the brothers, they saw this Rakshasa from a distance of a mile, and they looked at him in amazement. And as they stood there, the demon saw them and reached out with his two arms like snakes, like two enormous creepers, and tightly grasped both brothers and he lifted them high above the ground. And Lakshman, he cried out to Ram, he said, "Free yourself, O Ram, leave me as an offering to this devil. Make good your escape. I cannot release myself from this demon's clutches. After recovering Sita and the throne of Ayodhya, always remember me there." So Lakshman gave up hope. And then Ram, already torn by anguish due to having allowed Sita to be captured, Lakshman was overcome by the demon. Ram replied to his distraught brother, "Do not yield to fear, O Lakshman. A man like you should never feel dejected." The next one is lamentations, shokam. Sometimes we become so overcome by lamentation that we lose all the determination. And there are many examples in the scripture. King Chitraketu, he became so overcome by lamentation, he lost his determination. There are many kings that became so, they've lost because of lamentation, they would not fight. Then there's illusion, madham. The typical example is Arjuna. In the second chapter, he declares, Sanjay said, Arjuna, having spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. And it said, Krishna, I will not fight. He lost all of his determination to fight. And then we have moroseness. We become morose. We become self-pitiful. We feel sorry for ourselves. And one wonderful example in the Srimad Bhagavatam is the example of King Indra when he was fighting Vritrasura. And the fight was taking place. It was an amazing battle. And one stage, Vritrasura struck Indra with his mace, and the thunderbolt from Indra's hand fell. And Indra was practically defeated, and he was feeling very much ashamed. He dared not pick up his weapon. He was like the demigod fighting this demon, and he dropped his thunderbolt and he wouldn't even pick it up. He was completely discouraged, to the point where Vritrasura told him, "What's wrong with you? Take up your thunderbolt and kill your enemy. This is not the time to lament your fate." And then this Bhagavatam in the 6th canto, we see this amazing discussion where Vritrasura is instructing Indra to become determined, not to be morose, not to fall under Vishadam. And he said, "Oh, my enemy, just look at me. I have already been defeated, for my weapon and arms have been cut to pieces." At that point in time, Indra had cut his arms and he was defeated, but still he was fighting. "You have already overwhelmed me, but nonetheless, with a desire to kill you, I am trying my best to fight. I am not at all morose, even under such adverse conditions. Therefore, you should give up your moroseness and continue fighting." And Indra was saying, you are a pure devotee. It's very easy for you not to be morose. But I'm just a demigod. I am under the modes of nature. Therefore, I have become morose. So here we see determination, which falls under the influence of moroseness. So these are qualities of determination in the mode of ignorance. As I was saying, I don't expect many of you all to fall, because you're such stalwart devotees of the Lord, but this is something I try to remember. Move beyond the stage of dreaming. Don't let fearfulness break our determination. Don't let lamentation, some setback, hold us back, shokam. never become morose and pitiful, and never allow ourselves to come under the illusion that we are the body. The illusion that we forget Krishna's potencies. We forget the potencies of the spiritual master that can overcome any type of illusion. So I'll stop here for today. I will take any questions, comments, or reflections anyone has. Any reflections on what was discussed today?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you for that class. I really liked the last list that you gave us. Worth reflecting on, definitely on a regular basis. I was just thinking that in terms of the regulative principles and the promises you talked about, so once you know that if once you've taken the vow with your spiritual master, and if you break it, then the repercussions will be experienced by your Guru Maharaj, then why would one go into other modes and break those principles if someone else has to suffer for your actions?
The simple answer, Mataji, is that we are fallen. Often we take vows that maybe are a little beyond our capability, but on the basis of the, power of the spiritual master and the Lord. And, Srila Prabhupada, if we look at his life, unfortunately, during Srila Prabhupada's life, he saw there were so many of his disciples that took vows which they were unable to maintain. Even the vows of sannyas initiation. But Srila Prabhupada always, he encouraged the devotees. He said, life is such that we may become weak sometimes, but we should not become morose if there is some temporary failure. We should, we are in the material world, and the nature of this material world is, and especially in Kali Yuga, we are weak and we are always prone to the actions of the influence of the modes of nature. But we have to be determined, and if we let our guard down, then we suffer. So certainly, I would like to think that no faithful disciple would want to deliberately fall down or become prone. But, we are in Maya's kingdom and this is bound to happen. The important thing is not to let it get us down. To just get up, shake ourselves up, and with determination move on. That is the important thing. The Guru will forgive and Krishna will forgive. But we should not repeat it again and again.
Again and again. And do you believe in your experience that starting your day with your 16 rounds would deter any other modes from touching you during the day then?
Oh, definitely. That's what Srila Prabhupada said. Srila Prabhupada said if one gets up in the morning and chants 16 rounds, then there is a high probability you'll be in the mode of goodness the whole day. You won't fall under the other modes. But if one is weak and does not follow one proper sadhana, then one is more prone to fall under the influence of the modes of nature in the day. Yeah, that's definitely Srila Prabhupada spoke that to his disciples and devotees.
Okay, Prabhuji. Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Any other reflection? Nitai Mata, you unmuted yourself. Did you want to add anything? No. Okay. If there's no questions, comments. Okay. So there's no questions, further questions, comments. So it's a very nice verse. It's a very relevant verse for us because it gives us many pointers for which we should be conscious of and aware of. Sometimes we're not aware the modes of nature, they are so subtle, they influence us without even knowing it. And gradually some things become a habit. So these are very relevant and practical verses that Krishna is giving in our own practice as sadhakas, as devotees. So
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Santosh Mataji.
May I ask a question, please?
Yeah, sure.
Question about moroseness.
Yes.
Are we talking about self-pity or pity for others?
Generally, it has to do with oneself. Generally, you know, it's something that's affecting our consciousness that we become morose. It may be someone else dear to us is going through something, and then we think, oh, you know, why is Krishna doing this? Why is this happening? They were so good. And by them going through this thing, I'm becoming affected. But largely moroseness is an internal, personal consideration. But there may be external factors which are impacting that moroseness.
I see. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Very nice class. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Hari Bol.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. All
Prabhuji,
right.
can I share something I heard yesterday about how you can break your vows once and how it can grow into a habit. It was such a nice thing that a king who was told by the doctors that if he eats mangoes, then if he eats mangoes, if he stops eating mangoes, then he will live 150 years or whatever. He'll be healthy and well. So he says, okay, I'll stop eating mangoes. So he goes out into the forest with his colleagues, and he decides to sit under a mango tree. So his assistant warns him that, remember, you're not supposed to eat mangoes. And he says, yeah, but they've not stopped me from sitting under the mango tree. And then as he's sitting there, one of the mango drops on him. So he touches it, and his assistant reminds him again that, remember, you're not supposed to eat mangoes. And he says, yeah, but I've not been stopped from touching mangoes, have I been? And then he smells it, and the assistant reminds him again, and he says, remember, you're not supposed to smell mangoes or eat mangoes. He says, yeah, and that doesn't mean I don't have to smell it. Then he slices it. And then obviously we know what happened. So basically they were saying that you can say, oh, well, I'll do it just once, and then it can grow into a regular habit. So yeah, I thought it was such a nice example to remember. And
Yes, that's a wonderful example, Emma Mataji. So sometimes we think, you know, what's the harm? I'm just doing something against the principles of Krishna consciousness or associating with non-devotees. What could be the harm? They're just innocent people, you know, they're not bad people. But slowly that association will rub onto us because, you know, by nature they're materialistic and will take on. As Prabhupada says, you associate with drunkards, you become a drunkard. So yeah, we got to be very careful. Maya, you know, very careful.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mama. Yes, Meena Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I just want to ask, like, you know, in order to find spiritual guru, where should we have to look and how was the procedure? Like,
To find a spiritual guru.
Yeah.
All right. Actually, Krishna will lead us to our guru if we are sincere. But at the same time, you know, we need to know what are the qualities of a guru. And essentially, there are many gurus in this world. And so someone may think, yes, there are so many gurus, like in ISKCON, there are so many gurus. How will I know who is my guru? First thing, you have to take initiation from a guru in one of the bona fide sampradayas. Prabhupada has brought a special flavor in this Kali Yuga, in his lineage, in his branch, and in ISKCON. So you may say, okay, I like to take initiation from an ISKCON guru, but there are so many gurus. How do I know who is my guru? And the answer is that spiritual master or senior Vaishnava, who, when you hear them speak, you feel the greatest inspiration in your life, personal life, to execute your bhakti. That is the person who is most likely going to become your guru. And there are two types of gurus. There's Diksha Guru and there's Shiksha Guru. Diksha Guru is initiating guru is only one. You can have many Shiksha Gurus, instructing gurus. So the answer to your question is you should hear from as many senior Vaishnavas as possible, initiating gurus. And you will find out through repeated hearing that there is a one or two, or a particular one Vaishnava guru, that he invokes in your heart a particular inspiration to want to serve the Lord. And you feel that, yes, I want to surrender to this Vaishnava. So you may say, how do I hear? Or maybe one or two gurus only visit Bhaktivedanta Manor. You know, there's sites like ISKCON Desire Tree, where practically all of the initiating spiritual masters, you can hear their lectures, their seminars. And then there are many initiating gurus that visit. And Krishna is within your heart. It is said the relationship between the guru and disciple is eternal. It's not that you have a guru now and then once you die, or the guru leaves the world and that relationship is finished. No, it's eternal. The relationship between the spiritual master and disciple is eternal. So Krishna will inspire within your heart also to say, yes, your guru, go and surrender to that particular guru. Does that answer your question, Meena Mataji, or do you want more clarification?
No, yeah, that is answer. But like sometimes, like just in like in Radhanath, yes, many disciples. So how can we approach if we have question or anything? Because we cannot like in the spiritual group. But
there are ways to approach. There is systems in the temple by which you can approach.
okay.
If you are determined enough, you will make the connection. Don't see obstacles. Just see, Arjuna, when he was shown the target in the tree, everyone else was seeing the tree and the leaves and everything else. And when his teacher was asking him, Dronacharya, what do you see, Arjuna? He saw only the target. So we should only see our goal. That's determination in the mode of goodness. And determination in the mode of passion and ignorance, we see all the obstacles, all the things that could potentially prevent us. Don't see that. See only your goal.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
See, there's a comment that just came through. To not give fear, but to inspire one to move forward. Yes, thank you. Hare Krishna. All right, dear devotees, thank you so much for your participation and your attendance and your determination to repeatedly come back. Sanchi Mataji, did you have a question or comment? I see you unmuted yourself.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. No, I just wanted to thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Vancha Kalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Anantakoti
Hare
Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Ki Jai,
Srila
Srila
Prabhupada
Prabhupada Ki
Gaur
Jai,
Bhakta Vrinda ki
Premanande, Hari
Gaur
Hari
Premanande,
Bol.
Hari Hari. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Thank you for the
Thank you.
wonderful class. Thank you.